stop scrolling. Because if you found this message today, there is a possibility that your life has already changed forever, and you don't even realize it yet. Think about the last few weeks. Have you been waking up at strange hours for no reason? Have old relationships suddenly disappeared? Have you felt emotions that came from nowhere, followed by an unexplainable peace? Have your dreams become more vivid, your intuition sharper, and your desire for the old version of your life quietly faded away? What if none of this is random? What if the transformation you've been waiting for isn't coming tomorrow, next month, or next year? What if it has already happened, silently, beneath the surface, while your conscious mind was still waiting for proof? Stay with me until the very end, because the final revelation explains why millions of people never recognize their activation, while a small number suddenly understand that every painful experience, every delay, every unanswered question, and every unexpected ending was preparing them for this exact moment. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel and join thousands of seekers across the United States, the United Kingdom, and around the world who are exploring consciousness, spiritual awakening, and personal transformation together. If this message resonates with even one part of your soul, like this video and write IAMREADY in the comments below. Sometimes one simple declaration becomes the first conscious step into an entirely new reality. Now, take a slow breath, open your mind, and let's uncover why your activation may already be complete. For most of your life, you believed transformation would arrive like a lightning bolt. You imagined a single unforgettable moment when everything would suddenly make sense. You expected dramatic visions, unmistakable signs, or an overwhelming feeling powerful enough that there would be no doubt left in your mind. Yet the greatest transformations rarely announce themselves. They unfold quietly, beneath ordinary moments, hidden behind daily routines. Unnoticed because the human mind is conditioned to search for extraordinary events while overlooking extraordinary changes happening within ordinary life. This is one of the oldest paradoxes found throughout countless spiritual traditions. The awakening rarely begins when life becomes easier. Instead, it often starts when life becomes confusing. It begins when certainty disappears, when familiar routines lose their meaning, when success no longer satisfies you the way it once did, and when the person staring back from the mirror somehow feels both familiar and completely different at the same time. Perhaps you've noticed that conversations you once enjoyed now leave you feeling empty. Perhaps places that once felt like home suddenly feel unfamiliar. Perhaps you've started asking questions that never crossed your mind before. Why am I really here? Why do I feel different from everyone around me? Why do I sense that something enormous is happening inside me, even though nothing around me appears to have changed? These questions often arrive without invitation. They emerge quietly, like seeds breaking through the soil after years of waiting beneath the surface. Many people mistake these moments for confusion or failure. They believe something is wrong because the old version of themselves no longer fits the life they have built. But according to many spiritual perspectives, this discomfort isn't evidence that you're falling apart. It may be evidence that you're growing beyond the limits of your previous identity. Imagine a caterpillar moments before it becomes a butterfly. If it could think like a human, it might believe its world was ending. Everything familiar dissolves. Its body changes beyond recognition. The old structure literally breaks down before a new one emerges. From the outside, it appears to be destruction. From a deeper perspective, it is preparation. Human transformation often follows the same mysterious pattern. Before greater clarity arrives, confusion usually intensifies. Before peace appears, unresolved emotions often rise to the surface. Before your intuition becomes unmistakable, your logical mind may temporarily feel overwhelmed. This is why so many people abandon their journey too soon. They interpret temporary discomfort as permanent failure, instead of recognizing it as evidence that something profound is reorganizing beneath the surface. Consider how your emotional world may have changed recently. Perhaps situations that once triggered anger now produce compassion instead. Perhaps people who once controlled your emotions no longer have the same influence over your peace. Maybe you've started valuing silence more than constant entertainment. Perhaps your weekends no longer revolve around escaping your thoughts because your inner world has become more interesting than external distractions. These are subtle changes, yet they often reveal a transformation more significant than dramatic emotional highs ever could. One of the most overlooked signs of inner activation is not gaining something new, but quietly losing interest in what once consumed your attention. Suddenly, the endless competition loses its appeal. The need to constantly prove yourself begins to fade. Arguments feel exhausting instead of exciting. Approval from strangers no longer carries the same emotional weight. The endless chase for validation slowly gives way to something much quieter and infinitely more stable. A growing sense that your value exists independently of anyone else's opinion. This shift can feel unsettling because society teaches us to build our identity through achievements, possessions, relationships, and recognition. Yet many spiritual traditions suggest that genuine awakening begins precisely when those external foundations start losing their power over your sense of self. It is not that success becomes meaningless. Rather, success is no longer the source of your identity. Your identity begins emerging from somewhere much deeper. At first, this change feels almost invisible. Friends may not notice it. Family may misunderstand it. Coworkers may assume you're simply going through a phase. Even you may struggle to explain what is happening because language has limitations. How do you describe becoming someone you have never been before? How do you explain that your priorities have shifted even though nothing specific caused the change? It feels as though an invisible current has quietly redirected the course of your life without asking for your permission. Then something even stranger begins to happen. Coincidences become increasingly difficult to dismiss. You think about someone, and they suddenly call. You ask yourself a question, and the answer appears in a book, a conversation, or a random video hours later. Certain numbers seem to appear repeatedly. Certain opportunities emerge at exactly the right moment. Whether viewed as synchronicity, selective attention, or meaningful coincidence, these experiences often encourage deeper reflection. They invite you to become more aware of patterns that previously passed unnoticed. As your awareness expands, your intuition often becomes stronger. You begin sensing people's intentions before they speak. You walk into rooms and immediately notice the emotional atmosphere. Decisions that once required endless analysis now come with an unexpected inner knowing that quietly whispers which direction feels aligned and which one does not. This inner guidance does not shout. It rarely demands attention. Instead, it waits patiently beneath the noise of everyday life, becoming clearer each time you choose stillness over distraction. Many people spend years asking the universe for signs without realizing that the greatest sign is the transformation occurring inside their own consciousness. The world may look almost identical, but the observer has changed. And once the observer changes, the meaning of everything begins to change as well. The same sunrise appears more beautiful. The same conversations reveal deeper truths. The same challenges become opportunities for growth instead of reasons for despair. Nothing outside necessarily changes first. Instead, perception changes, and perception quietly reshapes reality. Yet this is where the greatest twist appears. Most people continue waiting for confirmation that their activation has begun, not realizing that the very act of waiting is preventing them from recognizing what has already happened. They search for a future event while standing in the middle of the transformation itself. Like someone waiting for dawn with closed eyes, they miss the light because they never stop looking for darkness. And perhaps that is exactly where you find yourself today. Not at the beginning of your journey, but standing at the threshold of an entirely new chapter, unaware that the door has already opened. The question is no longer whether your activation is coming. The deeper question is whether you are finally ready to recognize the person you have already become. Because once you truly see it, nothing in your life will ever look the same again.